E-reading is definitely convenient. What's not convenient is trying to find a way to prop these things up so you can read hands-free. Hello, I'm Allie, the Literary Sewist. Today I'm going to take you step by step through making a tablet stand with adjustable angles so you can keep your hands free to do other things, like snack or maybe even drink tea. Probably both. Using a reliable unstretched tape measure, reach around the sides from the front edge across the back to the opposite edge. You will add 1/2 inch to this measurement for your seam allowance. Do the same thing for the length. If you don't have a good tape measure, you can also use a cutting mat or ruler. Start at one side, adding 1/4 inch, slowly laying it flat, then roll up to the other side, adding 1/4 inch. Let's recap. Take your measurements, add your seam allowance, and then you'll have your cut measurements. You will cut 5 panels with the width and length measurement. They can be all matching or coordinating, whatever you'd like. For the last panel, you will cut the width of your fabric, then cut the strips to the length as follows. Your first strip will be 1 inch, the second 1.5, and the third 1.5. The final section will need some math. Take the total length and subtract 2.5 inches. This is the width of the strips minus the seam allowance, which is 1/4 inch per side. Three strips of piping as long as your width measurement. 1 cut of 1 inch elastic as long as your width measurement. 4 cuts of 1 inch elastic roughly cut on the diagonal. Additionally, you will need cardboard and foam, but we will get to that in just a little bit. On the panel that will be holding the tablet, mark 2 inches over from the corners on each side of the panel. There will be 8 marks in total. Line up the closest edge of the elastic with the 2 inch marks and pin in place. Stretch the elastic just slightly, bringing it in 1/4 inch so that it will hold the tablet snugly. Baste in place within the 1/4 inch seam allowance. On the panel that will be the back, mark 3 inches down from one end of the panel. Attach the closest edge of the elastic at the 3 inch marks on each side, stretching slightly and pin in place. Baste in place. Trim the raw edge of your piping down to 1/4 inch. Take the 1 inch strip and line up the edge with 1 strip of piping. Take the first 1.5 inch strip and pin it face down on top of the piping. Sew as close as possible to the piping. I'm using a zipper foot to narrow the margin. Open up at the seam, then take the 1.5 inch strip and line up the raw edge of the next strip of piping. Take the second 1.5 inch strip and pin it face down on top of the second piping. Sew as close as possible to the piping. Repeat this step for the last piece of piping and the short panel piece. Press the seams towards the 1-inch strip. Top stitch each seam if desired. Lay out your panels in this order. I've labeled them to help keep you organized. Pin A and C to each end of B, then pin D and F to each end of E. Sew all 4 seams with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Backstitch over the elastic to reinforce the seam. Press the seams open to each side. Right sides together, line up and pin the 2 lengths of panels. A on top of D, B on top of E, C on top of F. Pin all the way around, making sure to keep everything straight and trimming extra elastic. Leave an opening for turning on one side of the BE panels. Starting at one side of the opening, backstitch, then sew around the outside with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, ending at the opposite side of the BE panel with a backstitch. Pro tip, sew a diagonal stitch at each corner, just touching the primary stitching. This will reinforce your corners. Clip the corners, excess piping, and elastic as needed. Grab a piece of cardboard and lay it on top of one end just inside the seam allowance, then mark the opposite sides just inside the seam allowance. You will want your boards to be slightly smaller than the inside of each panel of the stand. Trim off any excess as straight as possible. You will need 4 cardboard and 1 piece of foam. Turn the panels right side out through the opening in the BE panels. After pushing out the corners, press all of your seams flat. Insert the cardboard into each end. Adjust the seams so that they lay on one side of the cardboard. Insert 1 piece of cardboard into the center, then check to make sure everything folds easily. Top stitch 1/8 inch around the outside, leaving the BE panel open. Backstitch over the elastic and seams to help reinforce those thicker areas. As you go around, make sure to shift the cardboard to the side so that you do not sew through it. Insert the last cardboard into the BE panel with the foam sandwiched in between. Tuck in the raw edges 1/4 inch, pin in place, and top stitch closed.
Okay, who's with me? We're gonna make all these tablet stands, right? Make one for our new outfits, for every holiday, you know, match the theme of the book we're reading. Keep in mind that the measurements I provided in this video are ideal for larger tablets, like an iPad. I did show you how to make it adjustable for your specific tablet, so if you need help with that, let me know down in the comments or send me a quick email. I'll be more than happy to help you out. If you want to share what you made with the rest of the world, please be sure to tag me in your photos on TikTok, Instagram, whatever platform you happen to be on. I'd love to see what you make. If you also need some help holding up a book, why don't you check out my book rest pillow tutorial right over here, and I'll see you next time.
Before you hop away, drop down to the video description to sign up for my newsletter and receive this frog coin pouch pattern for free.